Pointless internet drama rises over Lakers coach Darvin Ham because the Lakers can't have a single day without pointless internet drama. The Chargers see Derwin James as other teams would a young quarterback. And when the Dodgers conclude this monster 31 game and 30 day stretch, they'll take a deep breath, exhale, and ask, what the hell is going on with Walker Buehler? Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is Faithful Angelenos. It's June 5th, 2022. I am back in the home studio and starting to feel a little bit more human. It's a beautiful thing. Also feeling grateful, particularly for the new subscribers who joined in yesterday. Thank you for getting in. If you like the content we've been putting out about Los Angeles sports for the last 3 months, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notifications bell. Hit that. We put out a new video between 9 and 10 a.m. every day, and it'll let you know it's there. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And yes, comment. For I am not perfect. Before we get to the main topic of Walker Buehler, a very curious case indeed, let's go through the scores, the news and notes from around LA. Yesterday, Buehler pitched the shortest start of his career, 2 1/3 innings. Trey Turner's 26-game hitting streak gets snapped. Mets 9, Dodgers 4. Meantime, that 4-game series with the Mets concludes today at 1 p.m. Julio Urias takes the mound. He's 3-5. Trevor Williams comes up for the Mets, 1-3. Also, the Sparks will play Phoenix at 3 o'clock. And then the drama started kicking in again. Some website claimed that the Lakers coaching gig was Juwan Howard's if he wanted it. But he didn't, so Darvin Ham, they settled for Darvin Ham. And of course, a bunch of other websites picked it up to try to build this echo chamber. I'm going to call bullcrap on this one. Just straight bullcrap. Just apply a little bit of skepticism here, okay? You're going to tell me that one of the premier teams, not just in the NBA, but in all of sports, all around the world, wanted a guy who was suspended recently for hitting another coach and damn near starting a brawl in an arena, just like the Detroit versus Indiana fracas of years ago. No. Stop trying to undercut Darvin Ham. He did not. No. Stop it. Meanwhile, back east, former Lakers center Andre Drummond said, quote, "You must be differently. You must be built differently to play for the Lakers." He's right. Hope he enjoys Brooklyn, because they ain't exactly in great shakes either. Chargers notes. I want to congratulate FoxSports.com for finally joining the party. Look, I have a bunch of friends who still live in Hollywood. They all hate Fox News. Fine, fair, no problem. But I think we have finally found out what's worse than Fox News. It's FoxSports.com, okay? Because look, here's the headline. Quote, Derwin James sets the tone for retooled defense. Yeah, we know. We totally know. We've been talking about it for months. A couple of months ago, I was just, meandering out loud. Hey, I wonder who's going to play the star position. Maybe it'll be Derwin James. And a bunch of you guys, Charger fans, were like, yeah, it's going to be Derwin James. But it took Fox Sports months to catch up with that. Good going, guys. But I will say this, if you're a Chargers fan, you should be excited about one thing Coach Brandon Staley said, that much like how teams build their offense around a young quarterback, he wanted to build a defense to, quote, arm Derwin with some weapons, unquote. So maybe there's a new wrinkle that we don't know about yet from the Chargers defense. The LA Sparks, their season is 1 quarter done. I don't think they exactly suck compared to last year, but I don't think they know who they are yet. And there's a couple of reasons for it. One, they played most of their games on the road. The WNBA wrongly assumed that Crypto.com Arena would be booked for Lakers and Clippers playoff games. Whoops. But the other reason that we don't know who they are yet is only 2 players have started every game. Liz Cambridge and Nanika Ogwumike, the latter being the leading scorer and rebounder. So there's no lineup stability there yet. They don't know, I don't think they necessarily know who they are. UCLA football. Defensive back Martell Irby has decided to retire from football. And he decided to retire with a song. Now here's the thing, if this were any other dude, I would be like, really? A song? Are you nuts? And I probably shouldn't have used the word nuts, because the guy admits to having some mental health issues that he's trying to deal with. And I'm guessing that music is a tool that he has to help the man cope. And I want him to cope. I want him to be healthy and happy. So if he needs to retire and if he needs to create music in order to do that, good luck and Godspeed. Baseball America reports that USC intends to fire baseball coach Jason Gill. The Trojans have only been to the NCAA tournament once since 2005. They were 25-28 last year, last in the Pac-12 conference. Rod Dedeaux is rolling over in his grave, I'm telling you. Meanwhile, for the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw will pitch 3 innings in Rancho Cucamonga today, at least. He might be back as soon as next weekend. Andrew Heaney pitched 3 innings last night in Oklahoma City, gave up 1 run. There is 1 more rehab start expected, and then he'll probably come back. The internet is making a big stink out of manager Dave Roberts trying to have a position player pitch in the 9th inning. There's apparently a new rule that bars position players from pitching if the lead is 5 runs or less. Dumb rule, but whatever. Whatever. Who cares? The Dodgers' payroll is $310 million. The luxury tax on top of that will be $47 million, but it would drop to $28 million. By the way, have I thrown out too many numbers? It will drop by $28 million if the suspension for Trevor Bauer is upheld. If it stays, though, LA is basically paying 2/3 of Oakland's payroll. So Walker Buehler was considered a Cy Young favorite before the season started. And boy, did this guy want to start the season. He wanted to be unleashed so bad that when the lockout happened, he goes to Twitter, he blasts Major League Baseball, and of course, like everybody else who blasts their boss on social media, they immediately take it down. But I think we can cross Cy Young off of the things to do list for this year. I wouldn't worry about that. He's got many years ahead of him to try and become a Cy Young Award winner. He's only 27. No. My concern for this year is that the Mets are a team that he could face in the playoffs, and he lasted just 13 batters against them. You could argue that with an ERA of 3.84, he's pitching acceptable while trying to figure out what's wrong. And I think that's fair to say. But the problem is when you're an elite pitcher, pitching with an ERA of 3.84, not acceptable. It appears to have a grip on him. See, what alarmed me is his talk post-game. Quote, "I want to be good." Is that just me, or does that sound like the voice of a guy who feels like he's about to be defeated? Because even Justin Turner will tell you that Buehler is at his best when he, quote, has that FU mentality. Now, does that sound like FU mentality? Because it sure doesn't to me. So there it is. There lies the rub. He's frustrated with his primary pitch. It's a 4-seam fastball, and it's become more hittable over time. And his strikeout ratio, which previously averaged more than 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, it's less than 8 now. That's a hell of a drop. The best way to describe what's happened to his fastball is the so-called spin rate. The pitch used to have a spin rate of 2,415 RPM in 2018, hitters missed connecting on that pitch 30% of the time. Now the spin rate has dropped to 2275 RPM, and it's missed by hitters just 16% of the time. Dropping spin rate, less movement, easier pitch to hit. As a result, there is a belief that he has abandoned his fastball for a secondary choice, a cut fastball. And he has a 6-pitch arsenal, so now you can sit there and say, well, maybe everything's starting to get into his head. I don't know. I'm no psychologist, obviously, and I'm certainly no pitching coach. There are beat writers who claim that Buehler's mechanics are off, that his release point is dropped. Maybe that's true. I'm not going to break down tape like the Zapruder film from the Kennedy assassination. I'm just going to let other people do that, right? But Buehler did describe his delivery as, quote, high maintenance, because he's not a big guy. And as a result, he has to compensate for not having over-the-top physical attributes. He has to compensate with perfect form in order to generate velocity. For this, a layman such as little old me can make any number of wild guesses. So let's make a couple. But let's just not say that they're facts until we have more information. One, there was a delayed and shortened spring training. Now, if you have a complicated set of mechanics, you need extra training time in order to put all that in order. Could that have also been the reason that Buehler sent off that tweet storm earlier this year to Rob Manfred in MLB over the lockout? Could it? Also, he is too young to experience that level of a drop in velocity unless he was injured. Now, the Dodgers don't have a problem shutting down an injured starting pitcher. We already know that with Kershaw and Angelino. So I don't necessarily think it's that yet. Also, Buehler was one of 4 pitchers to pitch more than 200 innings last year. He led the NL in starts with 33. Is it possible that he has a dead arm? See, the one thing I can tell you that you can count on, Dave Roberts has every reason to be a patient man. The Dodgers, they're hours away, just hours away from finishing this brutal stretch in the schedule and leaving that stretch still in first place. The offense scores more than 5 runs a game, so there's little reason to panic over Walker Buehler. And Dave Roberts knows this, so he's not going to make any drastic changes. But he does need to know what the heck's going on. And if I were to rank the guesses so far, I would go shortened spring training to work on his mechanics and perfect them for the season. Dead arm carryover from last year. And then last, injury that he's not fessing up to yet. But again, those are just wild guesses. You tell me what you think. Now, if you enjoyed today's episode, by all means, like and subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're trying to develop something here for LA Sports. Thank you for watching. I'm James. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Have a good day.